We got a lot to discuss on a very special Tuesday edition of Evan and Tiki, including Devontae Adams getting the plane tickets ready, apartment hunting ready, because Devontae's coming to New Jersey. We'll get to that later on. Aaron Rodgers is banged up. The Yankees have some big decisions to make. But as we get over the euphoria of yesterday, the New York Mets winning the greatest regular season game in their franchise's history and securing a playoff berth for the first time since 2022, now the focus becomes, now what? The focus becomes, okay, that was cute. The Mets made the playoffs. That's great. That's the goal every year, make the playoffs. Now what? And last night, Tiki, and even this morning, I had this relaxed, happy feeling, like a smile on my face.
Finally, what time did that occur?
It occurred all night long after they got that victory.
Good.
But now my game face is on, Tiki, because it's no longer about celebrating the greatest regular season win in Met history. Now it's about business. And business is about to pick up in the city of Milwaukee, where the New York Mets could go on a run that we'll never forget.
How confident are you about said run that the Mets could potentially go on? Because, I mean, I guess they took care of business in one of those games this past week and weekend, but it didn't feel very comforting, and also must-win situations for the Mets.
Yeah.
Like, we forget that conveniently because of how exciting and excited we were over the Braves victory in Game 1. But they could have taken care of business 2 or 3 days before.
No question.
And they did not.
No question. There was a reason why I was so negative for most of yesterday. It's because of the way the Mets limped towards Sunday and eventually Monday. But my feeling right now, a mere 3.5 hours before first pitch, the New York Mets, the Milwaukee Brewers, Game 1 of the National League Wild Card Series, my feeling is this, and it's a weird, weird feeling, but I'm always honest with you. I believe one of two things are going to happen. Either the New York Mets are going to get swept. They're going to lose 2 straight to the Milwaukee Brewers. And, yeah, that was fun. Yeah, that was cute. And now the season's over. And now it's all about the big boys. It's all about the New York Yankees. That's option number 1. And option number 2 is they're going to continue this ride. They're going to beat the Brewers, and no one's going to stop them. And this is going to be a run that extends deep into October. I really have this all or nothing feel about this team right now. Either they lose quickly, and, you know, we're going to debate all offseason. How do we feel about the year? The playoffs barely lasted. It was like a fart in the wind. We're going to talk about free agency. Or 2024 is going to be a year none of us will ever forget, because they're about to go on a Texas Ranger Epician kind of run. And I don't know why. Maybe it's just the weird feeling I have today. I don't see a middle ground. I think it's one or the other,
It's because Met fans live at the extreme. Yeah. We all know that.
Yes.
And I hope it's if they lose, I hope that it's in the quick fashion that you're talking about. Because the last thing I need to deal with again, and that probably Sean deal with, I guess Loogie can deal with it because Loogie's positive, even though he was silent for most of yesterday, until the Loog hour, of course. But your energy and, I don't know, craziness in a do-or-die game was like exhausting to me.
Yeah.
And so if they don't lose early and Thursday comes around and it's a win and go forward type of situation, I have no idea what this show is going to feel like. Are we doing another watch party? We're going back to the performance space to go crazy when you're jumping up and down again?
So I
humping Loogie.
I did hump Loogie. I was very excited.
Getting pep talk from me.
Yes.
Leaving Sean to do the walk-off.
Yes. For anyone who missed some of the highlights from yesterday's audio watch party, coming up in about 25 minutes, we will give you some of the great moments from yesterday. We've all heard the Howie Rose calls, the Gary Cohen calls, but have you heard the Sean Morash calls? Have you heard the Tiki Barber calls? We'll get to that in a few minutes. I think that what I went through as a Met fan, and I don't think I was alone yesterday, was fear of this ending in some kind of disastrous way. And I believe that considering how well the regular season went, and considering the run that they went on, and considering the position they were in going into the final week of the year, right or wrong, I felt if they missed the playoffs, this was an epic disaster. And that was my fear yesterday afternoon. Like, they have to make the playoffs. If they don't make the playoffs, not that I'm firing anybody, but wow, this would be such a disaster. Screw OMG. Right. Screw all the good feeling. I think now that they're in the postseason, it's not that I'm lowering the bar. It's not that I won't come in here screaming or yelling if they lose this series to Milwaukee, of course, depending on how they lose this series. But I believe they've avoided the debacle. I think they've avoided the disaster. Unfortunately, this round of the postseason, known as the Wild Card Series, has not been kind to the New York Mets. They've been in two of them, sort of. A wild card game back in 2016, a game they lost heartbreakingly to the Giants, and obviously 2 years ago against San Diego. So this is not a round they've had great luck in. So if they lose, I'll be upset. I can't deny that. But I think what they were able to accomplish yesterday, for me and a lot of other Met fans, is avoid the sheer disaster and embarrassment of not making the playoffs after they played so well.
Yeah, being one of the best, if not the best team after start of June, and then not making the playoffs would have felt disastrous because they were in position to do so. After being so far behind the Braves, to be perfectly honest, for a lot of this season, to catch them, pass them, and then to have dropped back below them would have been, I felt like devastating.
Yes.
Like for so much of this season, it was, in my mind at least, because as a non-Met fan, so IBO here, it was, they're evaluating. I listened to what David Stern said. Mm-hmm. I understood what the process is going to be like this season as they look to see what the future of this team's going to look like. But then at some point, I don't know exactly when it was. It wasn't right after Lindor, gave his speech. It was much later than that, where it was, this team has to win now.
Yeah.
Right? This team has put themselves in position to do something beyond what David Stern's expectations even were. And that's a testament to the players.
Yes.
That's a testament to them finally stepping up as you implored them to do so many times.
It's a testament that in sports, expectations change.
100%.
What we think in March doesn't have to stay consistent the entire year. You change the bar. And so what the Mets, and this was the nervousness I think I had over the last few days, was they can't miss the playoffs. Mm-hmm. Now, I've always said this about all the teams I root for. Once you're there, I'm never going to accept losing. Beningo said something yesterday, and he even prefaced it by saying, bro, I know you hate this. So he knows I hate it, and that's the term house money. I don't believe you ever have house money because you don't know what the future holds.
Yeah, because the house will take your money back real quick.
That's right.
You all know that.
And also, we make assumptions about, the future's bright, don't worry, we'll be back. Well, I think Met fans certainly know better than anybody. There's no guarantee. We thought after 2006, the brutal loss in the NLCS, don't worry, look at the roster, they'll be back. They never got back. Mm-hmm. Even in 2015, when they got to the World Series with the great young pitching staff, don't worry, we'll be back. The closest they got was a one-game playoff, a wild card game the following year. So as we go into game one of the wild card series, I'm dreaming of a championship. I am. I'm 41 years old. I ain't going to be around here forever. I want to see my team win. And sometimes teams win in the most unpredictable, shocking ways and shocking seasons. So I'm not telling you I'll ever be okay with losing, but I think what the Mets were able to do for me personally as a fan is avoid the complete disaster.
All right. So
now we're in disappointment territory.
Now you feel good. You feel accomplished. Because the grind of the regular season, especially the start of the season, got completed. It got finished.
Yeah.
You always talk about finish in sport. You have to finish. Finish the block if you're a lineman. Finish the catch. Finish the touchdown. Finish the game if you're, in this case, in baseball with your closer. The Mets finished the regular season.
They did.
The way that you want to. But now the expectation has changed. So I'm very curious if most Met fans see it like you, or they're saying we're winning a World Series. Because it's hard for me, as a non-Met fan, to look at this team and say, yeah, this has World Series written all over it.
Well, they've got a shot. Everybody does. And I've been screaming about this for 2 years. If you're in the playoffs, you have a shot.
But they're not consistent enough, to my liking, to say they can win a World Series. Can they win a wild card? Sure. Can they get to the division, get to the championship series? Sure. But do they feel consistent enough to be a World Series viable team? That's the hard thing to fully commit my mind to.
Well, they have been, since June, the most consistent team in baseball in the fact that they were the best team in baseball.
Okay, but they had so many opportunities down the stretch and had subpar efforts.
You're right. But Tiki, you know what makes me feel better about that? So you're right. I mean, what he's saying is, hey, look at all the times they came up short final week of the year. They did overcome it. The Philadelphia Phillies, I'll never forget this. In 2022, the year where the Mets made the playoffs and them and the Braves were in the epic division race, the Philadelphia Phillies tried very hard to give a playoff spot away. I'll never forget this. They were choking down the stretch of the year. But because the Brewers were so bad, the Phillies made the playoffs, right? And then look what happened. They beat the Cardinals. They beat the Braves. They beat the Padres. They were in the World Series. Last year, the Texas Rangers lost 3 out of 4 in Seattle against the Mariners, where one more win would have meant the American League West. And guess what happened? They went to the wild card series. They swept the Orioles, I think, and they went on an amazing run. So sometimes how you finish doesn't even matter. It's about now getting hot at the right time. The Mets can win a championship. They can get hot. But I think where I'm at as a fan is they've avoided the complete disaster. Now, if they lose, I'm going to be disappointed. Oh, maybe I'll scream and yell a little bit. I'll be very disappointed. But they have avoided the other D word, which is disaster, by at least making the postseason.
Yeah, of course.
And look,
And
also
that became a necessity, especially in the last month of the season.
Yes, 100%.
It became a necessity.
And then the other thing you got to keep in mind is sometimes it's about how you lose. If the New York Mets tonight in Game 1 of the Wild Card Series has a 5-2 lead in the ninth inning, and they're forced to go to Jose Budo because Edwin Diaz isn't available, and he gives up a walk-off grand slam to Rhys Hoskins, I'm sorry. I can't imagine any Met fan is going to be able to sleep at night and feel good about anything. So there are ways you can lose that can ruin everything. Now, I hope that's not a scenario that happens. Rhys Hoskins, of course, hit the grand slam on Friday, a few hours after I told you he scares the crap out of me. Well, guess what? He still scares the crap out of me. But here's the fun part, Met fans. To quote a wise man who you no longer have to beat around anymore, we hear. I like that one. Who said we here? I forgot.
Julius Randle.
I would say, well, you ain't here no more.
We here, you ain't here. But he coined that great phrase a few years ago. He said, we here. And Julius, first of all, I want to thank you for your time here. Julius was a wonderful New Yorker. He took an unfair beating by a lot of talking heads. Hello, how are you?
You included.
Me leading the pack. But that was wise words because we are here. And now the question for the New York Mets is, what are you going to do about it? Are we going on some kind of run? Are we going on some kind of crazy 2015 acid trip? Or is this kind of like 2 years ago or a lot like 2016? We're here, we fart, and then we disappear. We pass some wind, and then we're gone. That's the question for the 2024 New York Mets. So I ask you, Tiki Barber, is this going to be a fart in the wind, or are we about to go on an insane trip with the 2024 New York Mets?
I think this wild card series is going to be a 3-gamer, and I think it's going to be dramatic. And I think they get to the divisional round and probably lose there.
So
that's my gut.
Okay.
That's my gut.
All right, so the Mets are going to give us some fun, and then we're going to have our hearts broken by the city of Philadelphia.
Down, and then the conversations about Pete Alonso are going to start becoming hot and heavy because he didn't do XYZ with runners in scoring position in a game that mattered.
That's already started, by the way.
That's what's going to happen. That's my feel.
Okay. Sean Morash, who I must say, and you'll hear some clips a little bit later on, did a marvelous job yesterday during the audio watch party. Not fair and balanced at all, but very entertaining. Sean, what's going to happen now?
Mets carry momentum, win today, lose tomorrow on a Diaz blown save.
Oh, my God.
You hate
and
Edwin
just
Diaz.
goes quiet into the night in Game 3.
See, that description, Tiki, would crush my soul. Like, one win away.
Because of the Diaz thing.
Well, one win away from going to play Philadelphia.
Yes.
To Diaz blows the game, and then a quiet, meekly lost Game 3. Yeah, see, that's where things would change. But now we hand the podium to the positive one.
Let's hear Tommy.
Some call him the prophet of positivity himself.
Tommy.
I believe in positive Tommy. I do believe in positive Tommy. That's why I'm letting you go before me. Maybe you'll inspire me.
Evan, yesterday one chapter was written, but the book of the 2024 Mets is not completed. In fact, 24 years later, the Mets are going to finish their story. See, Evan, I never forget. I have a very, very, very long memory. And I've been waiting 24 years for this moment, Yankee fans. 24 years. We right a wrong, and we finish our story on your hallowed grounds this time.
Wow.
In the Bronx.
The
Evan and I with Frank Sinatra blasting in the speakers.
Dramatic.
Humping each other.
Yeah, Luke could be helping me that day.
Sure will.
The prophet of positivity is taking Don't Make Plans for October to a brand new level. He's saying the Mets finished their story in the South Bronx in early November. Wow. Yeah, I think we're probably going to lose the next 2 games, and that'll be it. And then we'll have big arguments about, hey, was this a fun season? Was it a waste of time? How do we feel? That's how I think this thing goes. Met fans, how are we feeling? Are you confident? Do you believe? Is this going to be magical? What are your new expectations for the 2024 New York Mets? The toll-free number is 888-808-1019. 888-808-1019. We'll get you set for Mets Brewers. Yankee fans, you got an interesting debate that we're going to have to handle. What do you do at first base? We'll address it a little bit later on. Plus, there are new rumors coming out of Las Vegas that points Devontae Adams straight to the state of New Jersey. We're going to get to all of that on a very, very busy Tuesday.